Guys, Romie here. Alright, let's get into the Jacqueline versus Teresa show. I'm sorry, I mean the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 7, Episode 17, Reunion Part 1. Oh wow, thought that was right. And it starts off with Andy, of course, asking Dolores to stand up because Dolores got a butt job. I'm like, okay, very nice, still jiggly, cool. Siggy, she as her fan, it is what it is. Jacqueline looks good. Teresa looks good. Of course, Melissa looks good. Her hair's a little bit longer. The thing is, with Teresa, remember, we didn't know that Teresa was actually going to come back. We thought that, hypothetically, and then what ended up happening is the show took a year off or so to wait for Teresa to come back. That's why it took so long. And Andy was like, are you happy to be here? She was like, well, yeah, I am. He was like, wait, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I'm happy to be with you. Then she said, well, I didn't expect some people to come back, and I'm not happy with everyone. Of course, me and Jacqueline. But I appreciate the fact that they were direct with the fact that they don't like each other. That's the real. Regardless of how petty it may or may not be, that's the real. They can't communicate well because, again, they're just two very different people. It starts off with Dolores and Frank. So I think Dolores and Frank will ultimately get back together? No. Do they look like the perfect couple because they just mesh so well together? Yes. And, of course, Dolores talks about her son. Siggy talks about her son. And it's interesting because you would think Dolores' son would be the player, but no, he's the, I'm there to get money. Siggy's son's the, I got a girlfriend here, got a girlfriend there. It is what it is. At the end of the day, Frankie is making money. Look, that automatically attracts a lot of women. And, yeah, he'll have no problem. He's going to clean up nicely. And I know some people are like, clean up nicely? What do you mean by that? You know exactly what I mean. Yeah, I chose the same model as well. As far as make the money first. Because trust and believe, you don't want to be one of those that... Let me stop. But we get from that to more foolishness. And when I say more foolishness, I mean the whole little qualms between Jacqueline and Teresa. That's what it is, this whole... Because I'm trying to think, how am I really going to even talk about this? Because it's just the Jacqueline and Teresa show. Siggy goes and interjects and says how, Jacqueline, her delivery is horrible, but she has a heart of gold. That's great, but your delivery is horrible. So that's all that actually matters when you're speaking to other human beings. That's what I want to say. Want to say there, wow, it's like everything that's happening trying not to get me to do this review. But it's just so hard. It's hard because you just remember how it was and how it used to be. And I really think because Melissa and Teresa are on the mend, that it's hard for Jacqueline to feel like, oh, this is genuine. Oh, Teresa and I can't really be friends if she's friends with this person, with that person. That's just how it seems to be. They talk about Danielle Staub's coming back, or possibly coming back. We know she's going to be back for the next season. It's not confirmed, but they need an extra push. They need an extra push. With all that being said, Jacqueline's over it because she's like, wait a minute, this is the same person that you cursed out and you flipped the table over. We're thinking, yeah, but like bygones be bygones. At the time she was friends with you. She's not friends with you. You see how life works that way? You see how life works that way? They talk about the fact that Ashlee'S pregnancy and how I'm not even doing the regular play-by-play. I'm doing it how I want to do it. They talk about Ashlee'S pregnancy, and of course Ashlee was pregnant before she got engaged. They're like, oh, was that because she got pregnant, so that's why she got engaged? Ashlee was having issues, and so they checked it out, and that's when they found out that she was pregnant. That's great and all, but Teresa is saying, that's a good mother, huh? It's a good mother. Well, that good mother was calling me an ape and calling me an animal and gorilla and all that. But I'm thinking, Teresa, you did call Jacqueline, she was like, her face is deformed, and just look at her. She's been looking different since all the surgeries and stuff. Now, regardless if it's true or not, doesn't make it right. So if Ashlee wants to say what she wants to say in retaliation, it is what it is. And then with your daughter going, and she didn't at Jacqueline, but she did go in response to some things that Jacqueline was saying. And it was like, you know, some people need to have respect or be classy. She did it in a very, you know, mature way. I will definitely give it to Gia, because Gia, isn't that sad? Gia's what, like 15 years old compared to Ashlee as 26, 27. And you see the two differences, and that did speak volumes. So shout out to Gia for that one. I will give you that, Teresa. That was true. Well, with all of that, it really was a Jacqueline Teresa show. But with a sprinkle of Siggy and Dolores, because Siggy talks about her family and the fact that she was supposed to move back to Israel. The issue was she didn't want to do it. She shoplifted, all of that. She told her mom, it's not going to happen. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So they sent her to live with some close family friends, and she made a way for herself. And she's here where she is today. And she's thankful for everything that happened. That's great. We already got through everything that we need to, really, for the most part, with Dolores. I already told you about the arguments between the kids of the moms who are acting a damn fool. Now we have Joe. Joe comes back. We talk about Joe and his issues with, and people having a lot of issues with what he said in regards to his wife. Because saying, you bring the crumbs, I bring the whole cake. And it definitely was misogynistic. It definitely was an old, traditional, you know, messed up way of thinking. But he did apologize at the end in his own way. He did apologize, and all that apology had to be towards his wife. That's all that matters. I don't care if everyone else is upset. That's stupid. It's like, oh, he said that to his wife, so we're all going to be upset. We're all going to judge him, and he needs to apologize to all of us. No, he said something wrong. He later apologized. He was proven wrong, and with that, he apologized to her. She accepted it. Move on. Move on. Because it was just, this reunion was so, because that's the thing, it's really hard to even pick out things I want to say. Melissa, the male assistant, what was his name, Andrew? It's not working for her anymore. He left, which made sense since he wasn't doing that good of a job. It was probably too much for him. Now that business is really booming, he doesn't have any managerial or really full-on business experience to where he could handle a setup like that. So shout out to Melissa for her business expanding and growing. They talked about the whole fact that Melania, you know, do you think Melania is disrespectful and rude? And of course Teresa's going to say no. And Sirius is like, no, she's rambunctious. She has a big personality. She has a big personality, and I will say that I do know that she does put on for the cameras. A lot of that extraness is for the cameras. You know, she messes with the cast and crew. I've heard that multiple times, and so I'm sure that she's like a less turned up version of what we normally see. Will a lot of parents disapprove of her saying what she says to Joe and Teresa? Absolutely. Would I have my daughter be acting like that regardless if cameras are there or not? No. But she is a young girl. She's not a bad person. She's sensitive. I'm sure that if you're even mean to her in the slightest, she'll be hurt. And it's usually those people who, big personalities, you know, loud, sometimes in your face, they're usually the most sensitive. So that's why I'm treading very lightly, because I want to make it very clear that we understand that. Now, the whole thing with the Kim D is, again, tiring, because it's the whole concept of Teresa did technically bring said person back on, and Jacqueline and Dolores were hanging out with her. She said what she said, and it made them uncomfortable. They didn't agree to it. We get to the whole situation of Strippergate. Strippergate was annoying. Strippergate was so annoying, because that was what carried most of this episode. Really, we get it. Jacqueline, you wanted Melissa to just go and flat out say that you were the person that gave her the information regarding Strippergate. We get it. Melissa didn't want to go and do that. Why? Because she actually has a relationship with her sister-in-law now, so she wanted to tread very lightly. We understand that. She goes and admits she was slow to say what she said, and she apologizes for that. But your reaction to it was insane. And I'm not even going to go back and forth with who said what, who did this. Teresa that went and planted the evidence, because we don't know. That's why I'm trying to say it like it is. Jacqueline, look, Kim D loves to do this type of stuff. She loves to be in the middle of it. She loves to go, spout her opinions, spout things that may or may not be factual. She does not care. We know for a fact she does not care. She likes to put it out there, set the fire, watch it burn. That's always been her personality, at least from what we've seen. It is truly what it is. And I'm tired of everyone actually falling into the trap and actually arguing over it. It makes zero sense. And for Jacqueline to be like, wait a minute, so you guys argue, fight, call each other bees, things of that nature, and you're trying to say, well, it's all good, because it's not. How does that make sense? Teresa's saying, this is my brother. I love him, he loves me, we do everything together, we used to do everything together. Now, something that was disturbing was the fact that we found out that Joe lost his virginity at 9 years old. He was like, I became a man young, and I'm thinking, okay, so you became a man, so since you were a man, how come you were afraid to go and tell your parents that you became a man? Because he was like, because they were trying to say the whole thing, like, certain things Italian versus not Italian, and I'm thinking, well, if that was truly Italian-esque to do, then why didn't you go and just say that it happened? Because you knew better. Now, poor Teresa had to go in and be the bear witness to that. She was only 2 years older than him. So, damn. Like, what the hell's going on? That's why I'm like, regardless of how strict parents are and all of that, it does not matter. Kids are going to do whatever they want to do. That is evidence to it. Evidence. Andy having a field day saying, I saw your wiener and he liked it. Now, they talked about Dina and how Dina was on the show. Well, how Dina has kind of backed off. And as we know, Caroline and Dina, they're good, but they're not buddy-buddy, chum-chum, even though they're sisters. And with that being said, it's Teresa still has a relationship with Dina. Dolores kind of does, well, but hasn't heard from her recently. Jacqueline hasn't heard from her recently. It is what it is with Dina. Dina has said she doesn't want any type of drama. And then Teresa's trying to insinuate that Jacqueline's a stripper. Joe's trying to say, what's wrong with being a stripper? Because we know. Anyway, and my thing is, we've never heard, at least to my recollection, we've never heard of Jacqueline being a stripper. Does it matter? No. Just like what Melissa said, just like even what Teresa said, it really doesn't matter. At one point, they did bring up the fact that, I think they were trying to bridge the gap of you guys have known each other for so long and been so close, and you see Jacqueline's going through this stuff with her son, and it's like, basically, do you have compassion for it? Of course, Teresa has compassion for it, but she doesn't really care. She doesn't really care about Jacqueline enough anymore to go and just focus on Jacqueline's family. She cares about Nicholas. She cares, even though Ashlee, has always been extra. I'm sure she still cares about Ashlee, Jacqueline, also Chris, but Christina, but Jacqueline, no, because Jacqueline clearly just wants to. It's just so, because I'm just thinking about, like, this is too much. This is too much, and there's supposed to be a part 2 of this mess? Because we know that Jacqueline doesn't like the fact that Teresa basically trying to say plotting and doing the most. And my whole thing is, Jacqueline, that's what you do. Teresa does it as well, but you've been so fixated on trying to prove her point, trying to have your voice be heard. You keep trying to bring your so-called friends into it. That's why people think that Siggy and Dolores are puppets, even though we know they're not. They have voices that they don't want to get caught up in this, because it's like, they want to be friends with both of you guys. It's not fair. And Melissa's like, I'm done with you. I'm done with Ashlee. I'm done with the whole situation. And the fact that they, Melissa at the end was like, Siggy, you're a relationship expert. Just weigh in on this. And Siggy is just like, look, she loves you. Well, no, she loved you at one time. Not anymore. It is what it is. I feel the same way. This is all too much. Oh yeah, Teresa going and saying, oh, Jacqueline, you were the reason why the feds came, because Teresa was trying to say, well, you also had your legal issues. You were a stripper, you were gambling, you were doing all these illegal stuff and immoral stuff, and yet you're trying to focus on me. How dare you do that? Melissa looks disgusted. Siggy and Dolores just look over it. Andy lost control because his voice was already gone and they were just going spatting off and doing whatever they wanted to do. It was too much for me. Please like, comment, subscribe. Come back next week. This was draining.